Hey, you guys. I'm Alexa Reeves, and I will be your witch and host for today's episode of a book review. I'm normally doing the podcast, but today I get to review some of my favorite books that I have purchased at the store before. Um, the great thing about the shop is her library is expanding. She always has books in on any topic you could ever think of wanting to explore. Chances are Melissa's got one for you. So today we get to explore some of my favorites, and this is one of my personal favorites I'm really glad I purchased recently. We're going to talk about Of Blood and Bones by Kate Froyler. And this is a book about working with shadow magic and the dark moon. What immediately attracted me to this book was the fact that prior to even page one, prior to the foreword, there was a disclaimer. A book that has to lead with a disclaimer, you've got my attention. What are we doing? I am so tickled to death that not only is there, it's becoming more and more accessible, of course, but this is a book that really bluntly takes on some of what's considered the darker magics. The idea of curses and hexes and working with bodily fluids and puppets and sacrificing things, death rites and stuff like that. She takes a hard look at some of the magic that's been around since magic was a magic. It, and I appreciate the fact that she was bold enough and brave enough not only to take on this topic, but to take it on in a very blunt and honest way. Um, the disclaimer she leads with is basically, she doesn't support hunting or killing animals for just pure sport. She references bodily fluids, use precautions. Contents of this book are not meant to replace legal protection or law enforcement. Readers are advised to contact proper authorities if they're planning on doing something that they feel hesitant about. Things like collecting graveyard dirt or, visiting local mortuaries or things like that for information. I am obsessed with this book. I love the fact that she kind of boldly goes where few practitioners are brave enough to go. The idea of dark magic or black magic has always been a really big source of contention in the pagan community. And it's one of those things that is different for every practitioner. There is really no right or wrong way. But if you're someone who is curious, if you're someone who has questions, might feel like they could incorporate these things into their practice, this is definitely the book to pick up because she boldly covers a lot of the ethics on, a lot of the topics that you would consider kind of morbid. She covers crossroad magic and death candles. She covers collecting graveyard dirt. She has an entire section on blood and other bodily fluids in your magic. And if that is something that you are curious about, she will give you the heads up of, here are some of these things that you could be using that maybe you've read about in some books before, you've heard about, but you weren't quite sure how to incorporate those things into your practice. Typically, witches and practitioners usually have some sort of morbid fascination with, skulls and skeletons, as you can see. She covers that. She talks about ethically finding animal bones and animal parts and using them. And that if you're somebody that wants to even incorporate and go as far as hunting an animal and using them as part of sacrifices, that she talks you through the parts of the animal you could use: the horns, the teeth, the claws, the feet, the hooves, skin, wings. She talks about how to clean that material for yourself. She also boldly does discuss cursing and magical manipulation and the idea of the puppet and, kind of the more offensive magics versus the defensive magic, so to speak. But she covers them in such a cavalier way. And she's got a really great voice in this whole book. She's very clever. And she does kind of get a couple really, really good jabs in about what's going on in your day-to-day life. I think one of the opening lines of this that I really enjoyed. Here's the blunt truth. We all have a dark side. I like the fact that she talks about, facing your own shadow qualities is hard. Of course it's hard. It's hard work. Nobody wants to admit that they're capable of doing painful, bad things or hurtful things to people. But Kate Froyler takes on that approach of, if you are a practitioner that wants to incorporate this into your practice, if you're somebody that wants to incorporate bodily fluids and animal parts, even human parts, she talks you through how to get those ethically and safely. She talks you through not only the kind of the legal parts of like, hey, here's where you should really, don't trespass on a locked graveyard at night. That's illegal. Check with your local churches. If there is a church, if there is a graveyard somewhere that you would like to have soil from, ask. Don't just go steal it. Go ask. You can have these conversations with other people that are caretakers of these places. And then she talks about how to kind of morally and ethically and magically use those parts, and thanking, the people or the animals or whatever entities you bring in for working with you like that. And she does it in a very brave way. As somebody personally who does enjoy a little bit of strangeness in my magic, I'm not above using bodily fluids. I use animal parts, bones in my divination pieces. I've used them before for scrying. It was a comfort to find a book from someone who not only bravely took the topic on, but upon a little bit of research, Kate Froyler wrote several of the Llewellyn's more encompassing works. She helped write the Magical Almanac, the Sabbath's Almanac, and the Spell a Day Almanac. So she was a practitioner that you could believe that knew her stuff because she's published on multiple fronts. She's not necessarily new to the block. So it made it easier for me to believe, what it is that she would say about this. So if you are someone who is curious about any of the dark parts in magic that kind of seem a little bit more taboo, Of Blood and Bones by Kate Froyler is the book for you. I am tickled to death that I got it. I am so glad. I've used parts of it already on, I researched the part when my coven got together to make witch bottles, on using your own urine in a witch bottle, which is, a protection bottle for your property and your space to keep harmful spirits and harmful haints out of the area with you. And I love the fact that I had a reference book to show my coven of like, here, I'm not just making this up. There's somebody who can talk to us about this and can explain this to us. So if you are interested in more of the morbid magic, this is the book for you. Go pick up a copy. It is an awesome read. It is a really cool exploration of some of the more taboo, dark, questionable, controversial topics in magic, and then how to incorporate those into your own practice. So go pick it up, go read it. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you all in the next one.